Gaura Hari Bo.
Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Ashtatarasata Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Nitya Lila Parishta Om Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Ashtatarasata Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavarinda Ki Sri Nitai Chaitanya Chandra Ki Sri Nitai Gaura Chandra Ki Sri Radha Giridhari Ki Sri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Balabha Girivara Dhari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Randana Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Randana Jamana Tira Vanachari Vanachari Jamana Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivara Dhari Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Randana Jasodandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachadi Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Astatarasata C.C. Madhus Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaur Premanandi. Statistically, young people like you two, you're less likely to get this virus than people like me. I'll trade you my age for your age. No deal, huh? Okay. Where's the camera for the online people? There's one there. Is there one up there also? Up on the wall? So, assuming, where? There's one up here too? That's the new one. Oh, but it's facing out there. Okay. 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 Not only here in Houston, all around, as far as I know, all around, it centers all around, certainly the U.S. and wherever they have capacity for online classes, that's what's going on in Iskcon today. And in the United States today, it's a National Prayer Day. Did you know that? Some of you didn't know that. Now, officially, there is an annual National Prayer Day, and it already passed. It was earlier this month on Thursday the 9th or something like that. But the presidential decree, it's now its second one of the year, National Prayer Day. And specifically, one of the 4 items found in Bhagavad Gita amongst pious people, Chatur Vidha Bhajante Mam Jana Sukritin Arjuna. Sukriti, pious people, call out to God in prayer when they have a problem. So it's a international problem day of prayer, to appeal to God for His protection, His intervention. In one sense, it's a good thing. Certainly better than not turning to God when there's difficulty. However, I want to speak, certainly, I want to speak something about prayer. But I also want to speak something about what goes along with prayer. What goes along with prayer is recognition of why there's difficulty. And why is there difficulty? I mean, there's a very specific difficulty of how this coronavirus outbreak started, and currently going on in the media, there's like politics about who started it. The China government is putting out messages saying the United States government started it. It's an information campaign. In case you're not, I found that out from the Chinese devotees before I found out from the media that I found out, because they're getting it. America started it to make China look bad. Just today, Sunday in Italy, how many days are there in each year? 365. There was more than that number of deaths today in Italy. 1,800 plus deaths, not just cases, but deaths in Italy. That's reported ones since this thing started. So we can pray to God, protect us from that which somebody started, but the report, there was a time when there was a scientist that reported. He disappeared. And then it was some time passed, and the China television, which means it's controlled by the government, reported the same thing, that it started in a, now they're saying something else. America started it, but in a marketplace in Wuhan, not only they sell animals, but there was a particular favorite in that marketplace, and that's wild animals. So some wild animal that had immunity to the virus was part of that sale, and then somebody did something to that animal and then ate the animal, and they contracted the virus, and then the virus started to spread in Wuhan. Now the story's a little different, and the principle is not, the detail is less important than the principle. The principle is what's important. The principle that's important is uncontrolled senses, where the God-given purpose of everything is to connect everything with the source of everything in loving service. That's the human mission, is to achieve that state so that our original Krishna consciousness can awaken and so forth. But there's some people that have a different idea, and that is the senses in this human form of life are really good facilities for sense enjoyment, and uncontrolled sense enjoyment leads to consequences, both for the individual and then, groups of individuals. And it leads to a crisis, where pious people then turn to God, oh, help us with the crisis. But the crisis cause doesn't necessarily get checked. But without going into detail about the law of karma and the consequences that are certainly due to groups of people that don't understand the laws of karma and must bear the consequences. Even ignorance of the law is no excuse. There's laws, and you violate the laws, and there's consequences. It's true in material life, it's true in spiritual life. And pious people do more than turn to God and offer prayer. Pious people look to God to help them overcome that tendency. Which tendency? The tendency to try to be the enjoyer of the temporary. in an uncontrolled and unregulated fashion. So human life, Prabhupada taught this over and over, human life begins when there's regulation. The Bhagavatam gives the example in 5 places. The example is given of a bull, powerful animal, is controlled by a little ring in his nose. And that little ring in his nose, because the bull is very sensitive to his nose, they tie a rope to the left and to the right of side of that ring, and they pull this way and pull that way, and the bull is controlled because his nose is sensitive and there's a ring in it. Similarly, the Bhagavatam compares the human form of life voluntarily submits itself to that, like the bull with a ring in its nose, to the regulations of the codes of the Vedas, because it leads to piety, and piety performed properly leads more to the fruits of piety. It leads to a life where one is more inclined to submit oneself to the personality of Godhead from whom the codes of Dharma come. Vedaishcha sayurvair aham eva vedyo vedanta krid veda vedeva chaham. We know that the purpose of all the Vedas, of just listening to Prabhupada teach this to a group of Dr. Mishra's students in New York City in December of 1966. The whole of the Vedas, not only Bhagavad Gita, the whole of the Vedas is to teach this one principle, to know Krishna. The purpose of the codes of Dharma is to bring one to the point where one may be engaged in devotional service and thereby understand Krishna. That's the purpose. But if one doesn't have such purpose and there isn't such control, then one is not even technically in the human form of life, that is, a life that's meant for elevation. There's still the human form, and so there's responsibility for not knowing and not following. So a nice prayer on National Prayer Day would be what? Our dear Lord, please help these people that don't understand the importance of controlling their senses to understand the importance of controlling their senses and use the senses instead of for unrestricted sense gratification, to use the senses in the service of the master of the senses. Oh, dear Lord, please be kind upon the human race, because the human form of life has a great responsibility to all other forms of life and to material nature, the world around us. And something that can help direct the senses like that is the mind. If the mind is in right order, the orientation of the mind is towards elevation, not towards degradation. This is like a Bhagavad Gita class before I go into the Bhagavad, some nice prayers from the Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text number 9. Comes right after text number 8. And in text number 8, Krishna describes that the living entity, according to what the mind is fixed on at the time of death, that state they will attain. And then the next verse says what form of life they receive in that next life is from the conceptions carried in the mind, which then carry one to the next form of life, and then they receive, the living entity receives, a set of senses grouped around the mind. So as that's true from one lifetime to the next, it's also true from during our present lifetime, because we're changing bodies during our present lifetime, according to chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. So the mind is really important. That's the message here. And the conceptions of life that we carry in our mind is the message. And the conception is not just that we are meant to be enjoyers, and when we have a problem with enjoyment, because we're pious, we turn to God and say, please help me out. I'm having an enjoyment problem. Or I'm having a crisis problem. So please help me out. That's, one orientation of mind. But then higher than that is, please relieve my mind from this wrong orientation or against your pleasure orientation towards your pleasure orientation. So I'd like to read two prayers from Prahlad Maharaj. Now I'll just share something with you. Prahlad Maharaj is one of my heroes. Everyone has their heroes. Or if they don't, they're just not being honest with themselves. We all have some heroes. So Prahlad is one of my heroes from, way back, when I started first hearing about Prahlad. So that's a place where I'm coming from. Now, the prayers are not from Canto 7, where it describes his prayers to the personality of Godhead, when the personality of Godhead, Lord Nrsingadev, appears before him. That's a wonderful section, Canto 7, Chapter 9, and then again, Chapter 10. But this is from Canto 5, Chapter 18. It's a part of the description of Vedic cosmology, and part of the description of Vedic cosmology is Bhumandala. Bhumandala, I'm holding my hands like this. There's a series of islands and oceans in rings, and the central goes out 7 of them. And the central one is Jambudvip, and Bhumandala, as its central island of Jambudvip, has Bharatvarsha as one of the varshas or territories in this central island of Jambudvip. And one other Varsha is Hari Varsha, where Prahlad resides and Lord Nrsingadev is worshipped. And Prahlad is offering prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. It's a little detail. Let me go there a little bit. This very same Prahlad Maharaj that we find in the 7th canto Bhagavatam is previously described in the 5th canto Bhagavatam, where he permanently resides, where Lord Nrsingadev doesn't appear, kill Hiranyakashipu and disappear. He's permanently there. He's the presiding deity of Harivarsha, and Prahlad is worshipping him and offering prayers. Now, the elevated position of the residents of these various Varshas, other than Bharatvarsha, is they have consciousness and duration of life like Treta Yuga. They live for 10,000 years commonly, and their standard of elevation of character, etc., is like what we find in Ramayana. And there's no Ravanas and Kumbhakarnas there. It's just, it's elevated personalities worshipping the personality of Godhead. So here's the Bhagavatam prayer that's different than please help us in our troubled times. And then when the trouble is gone, I'm back to business as usual. It's very different. So it's text 8 and 9. It begins, Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya, Namas Tejas Tejase, Avir Avir Bhava. Maybe some of the devotees here like Lord Nrsingadeva and have memorized the verse. It's very nice. Do you know the verse? From heart? Do we have a portable microphone? We're going to invite him to recite the verse. There's many very inspirational prayers to Lord Nrsingadev that worshippers of Lord Nrsingadev knew. I'll read the translation first. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrsingadev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth, just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires. Aha, the right kind of prayer. Please kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. Go ahead.
Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya, Namastejas Tejase, Aviravir Bhava, Vajra Nakha Vajra Damshtra, Karmasayan Randhaya Randhaya, Tamo Grasa Grasa Om Swaha, Abhayam Abhayamatmani, Bhuishta Om Kshram.
The root cause of suffering from the Vaishnava teaching is different than the Buddhist teaching. The root cause of suffering is ignorance. And the way to remove ignorance is he who is the controller of ignorance removes it. And you appeal to him to remove it. It's something like mentioned this morning in class, that where yesterday, Devahuti offered prayers to her son, Kapila Dev. You're the source of Maya that has covered my consciousness. Could you kindly remove it? And give me the means where I can be also engaged in such a way it can be removed or dispelled. And we're covered by illusion. We're covered by ignorance. We're covered by ignorance because we want it to be. Well, we didn't want the suffering part, but we wanted the enjoyment part. Here's a little secret. It's an open secret. This is a world of duality, and if you want happiness, everyone wants happiness. If you want happiness in the world of duality, the secret is you get both. We get material happiness and material distress. Right? Let's do it again. This is a world of duality. There's both things. There's light and dark, and wet and dry, and up and down, and male and female, and happy, sad, and pleasure and pain. Wherever there's this, there's that. It's a world of duality. That's the place. So if everyone wants happiness, we want happiness in that realm, you're guaranteeing distress. You're purchasing distress. Not a good purchase. But it's guaranteed. Money back. Guaranteed. You get distress. And here comes the distress. Oh, help me with my distress. Because you're pious. You want happiness. Because you're pious. You want pious happiness. But if there's some mistakes along the way, or what to speak of making decisions that are knowingly in the dark side of things, then ignorance comes. And so the root of all ignorance is ignoring Krishna, and the means of overcoming that is turning attention again to Krishna. So this is Prahlad praying to Lord Nrsingadev, I can't remove this ignorance on my own, but it's your potency, you please remove it. And the ignorance is the tendency to try to be the enjoyer of that which we're not meant to be the enjoyer of. But we keep doing it. We're very stubborn, kind of like a donkey. We just keep doing it. And doing it, and try to do it differently and nicer, but doing it. That problem is the root cause. So if that tendency, ignorance tendency, is removed, then real happiness is accessible. Transcendental happiness that doesn't know the duality kind of happiness and distress. That's what Prahlad is praying. He's not praying for himself. It's in the purport. He's not praying for himself. He's praying for the world. Because in Jambudvip, they're not just concerned about themselves. They're concerned about cosmic influences. And they understand the function, the role of the personality of Godhead in the cosmos. And they want well-being for all living entities in creation. And they also know what the problem is caused by. Kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance. That's all of us in the material world. So that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in the material. He's not asking for termination of the struggle for existence. He's asking for fearlessness in the struggle for existence. So what's the struggle for existence? We're a spirit soul, and we're in this foreign place. We don't belong here. It's not a nice place. He's not saying, get me out of this unnice place. Give me fearlessness while I'm passing through this not nice place. When fearless, how is it possible to be fearless? When you're protected by the supremely powerful being, you're fearless. Now, not foolish, but fearless. You know, it's because of the coronavirus situation, the temple has sent out a notice to everybody. Sunday program is suspended, and please check out online and participate in the program online because we're taking precaution. We're not foolish fearless. We're careful fearless. We don't want to exercise the Lord's protection beyond what He needs to. No, a smaller gathering with social distancing and all that stuff, it's different than if it was a packed up temple room. So this is fine. And those of you that are here, it's fine. But we're taking precaution, even we're devotees, knowing that we're protected. Because we're not foolish, kind of fearless, but fearless in the sense, even if we take precaution, is there any guarantee? Anything? So there's one protector, and that's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the fearlessness, because of these two things mentioned. Ignorance is taken away. When ignorance is taken away, then the path of being in service to the Personality of Godhead is open. Say it the other way. When ignorance is blocking, the path to serving the Personality of Godhead is interrupted or blocked. That's what happens. So if you want to be somebody's friend, we want to have friends. Some of us here seated near with one another, we have our friends. So to be the friend of your friend, remind them of Krishna. And you offer prayers to Krishna that Krishna, you're in my friend's heart. Please help them remember Krishna, remember you, because you have that power. Smatak smatir jnanam apohanam cha, right? From Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is situated in the heart of every living entity. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto. And from that Krishna who is in the heart, matak smatir jnanam apohanam cha. Remembrance, my dear Lord Krishna, my dear friend over here. They struggle sometimes, as do I, but they struggle sometimes. And that's due to forgetfulness of you. So kindly give them remembrance of you so they can pass through that struggling time with greater strength and fortitude and clarity of purpose and mission of life. And this way I can be their friend by appealing to you, and you appeal to them. Of course, there are many other things that we may do as friends, but that's the best friend. As we do the many other things, do the best thing along with that one thing. And that's the best friend. And we need friends. We're social beings, and we need social companionship. And that's the best companionship of whatever the kind may be, husband and wife, or parents and children, or children and parents. And whatever. So here's text 10. I'm keeping track of time. You know the next one too? Do you know the next verse by heart? Okay. Text 10, translation. Oops, text 9. Excuse me. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. Wow. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. So it's a we, it's not me, and the we is all living entities in the universe. He's not just Brahmana, meaning very liberal. He's an Uttama Adhikari Vaishnav, thinking of all living entities, the well-being of all living entities in the universe. May there be good fortune throughout the universe. Swasti astu vishvasya. Swasti astu vishvasya. There's a phrase, if you listen carefully to Srila Prabhupada speaking, especially in the early days towards the end of Bhagavad Gita lectures, he would say this phrase very quickly. And so I'm just going to repeat. It's Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu. Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu. One more time. Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu, which means everyone should be happy. Now, what was the rocket fuel in Srila Prabhupada's tank? What was carrying him forward day by day? Of course, there was some happiness he was experiencing in his relationship with Krishna that was propelling him. But it was a mission to facilitate everyone becoming happy. Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu. Sukhi. Happiness. Bhavantu. That everyone should become happy. And there's lots of unhappiness. It's not just coronavirus crisis. There's lots of unhappiness. And it's all unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. And that happiness is within the mind. Of course, there's bodily pain and suffering, but there's a lot of unhappiness within the mind. And both are unnecessary. We don't need either material body and material mind. That we want happiness, but we want happiness in the field of duality. And when you go into the field of duality, there's distress, and then there's the modes of nature, and then there's this kind, that kind of, there's categories of happiness. But they're all binding upon the performer, and as Kali Yuga progresses, it's less goodness and more passion and more ignorance, and more suffering. So his interest includes the envious. A natural example of that is his father, of all people. His father was envious of his son. And why was he envious of his son? He saw him as being more powerful than him. He tried in many ways to kill him, and they couldn't do anything to kill him. This is, before Lord Nrsingadev appeared. And before he was sent back to the school with his teachers. He tried to kill his son in so many ways, and it didn't work. And he started to become very anxious. He's more powerful than I am. And I'm the most powerful. And he's more powerful than I am. The teachers pacified. He said, he's just a little boy. He'll get over this. We're really good teachers. We'll teach him how to be a nice asura. Don't worry. Put him back in our church. So, and obviously it didn't work. But he's envious of his own son. Still, one of the first requests that Prahlad made was for his father to be forgiven for all his transgressions. Now that's very high. We don't normally think like that. But he's a hero. He's a role model hero. And he's wishing well even for his aggressor, the envious father. And every living entity, we can't even think of every living entity. Here's a little Prabhupada story. I'm going to end because of the time. A god sister, Saradiya, was once asked Prabhupada, when we're chanting Hare Krishna mantra, should we be thinking that this chanting is good, beneficial for all living entities as we're chanting? And Prabhupada chuckled and said, you can't even think of all living entities. You just think of the holy name. Bring your attention to the holy name. Of course, by doing so, it's beneficial for all living entities. But this is part of the doership mentality that he was discouraging instead of the service mentality that he was encouraging. In the service mentality, when you have attained a position like Prahlad, then he's thinking of the well-being of all living entities, that he's absorbed like that. Ignorance, evil desires, enviousness, disturbed minds. Vyasadeva wanted to do the same thing. His effort was to compile the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, but just focusing back on prayer, National Prayer Day. These are two very nice prayers. I invite you, those of you that have Bhagavatam in your homes, you go read the verses and purports. 5:18, 8 and 9. And there's so many other nice prayers, but these are especially favorite prayers. Praying for not just mitigation of distress, as pious people may do, but for the well-being of all living entities. The removal of ignorance for all living entities. That's a high prayer. But we can't do that, but the personality of Godhead can do that. And if he hears our prayer, he hears our prayer. That's what makes prayer powerful. prayers are powerful. When he hears your prayer, he can move the material energy in ways that prevention can't. Or precaution, I should say. So it's 6:45 and I'm supposed to stop at 6:45. Do we have some time for some discussion? We have a microphone. Could you take the microphone? Anybody would like to raise a question or somebody online? Madhava? Not yet, okay. If there's anybody online that would like to have some discussion, please.
Thank you for the nice class, Maharaj. You spoke about the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, but then we have also heard the prayers of Queen Kunti, who prays to the Lord to always keep her in distress, so she can always be thinking of him and taking shelter of him. So that's also the other side of the prayer, which seems to be a
Contradiction.
I would say a very, very almost an extreme kind of prayer for the Lord to benedict her by putting her in distress. Could you speak some about that, Maharaj?
Sure. First of all, her prayer is for calamity, not for distress. So distress is how you respond emotionally to a difficult situation, and then there's the difficult situation. So she, Kunti, and her sons, the Pandavas, are faced with calamity after calamity. Bhishma Dev says in his prayers, the following chapter, chapter 9, normal people would never have been able to survive the calamities that you have been subjected to. But they weren't distressed, they were experiencing and confronting calamities. But they had trust in Krishna, and every time the calamity moved. And then the next time the calamity got resolved. And they had trust in Krishna resolving their calamity. Of course, when they went through them, they may very well have been experiencing some distress. But she's not praying for distress. She's praying for the situation where utter dependence upon the personality of God, it is elevated by the circumstance. Because there isn't anything that normally we might do in such circumstances. And then Krishna comes and addresses the calamity. So yes, it's unusual. We don't usually pray for calamity. However, she and the Pandavas understand that whenever there was a calamity, Krishna would come. So let the calamity come, because Krishna will come to help address the calamity. We want Krishna. When the calamity gets resolved, he goes away. So better to have the calamity and Krishna than no calamity and no Krishna. So she's praying not specifically for the distress. She's praying for Krishna's association, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. There's a section of Brihat Bhagavatamrita where Narada Muni goes to visit the Pandavas in Hastinapur. And when he reaches there, they're having a little Pandava conference. And they're planning what should be the next calamity. Because they know when there's a calamity, Krishna will come. So what's the best calamity to bring Krishna to come? They're planning it, not just praying for it. Because they want Krishna's association. And that's the fearlessness. We have an online question. Yes? Move quickly.
This question is from Shashi Rekha Devidasi,
Uh-huh.
and she's asking, how can we contribute for Sarveno Bhavantu Sukhino?
Sukhe, Sukhino Bhavantu. Sarve, Sukhino Bhavantu. How can we contribute? Sir
Yes, Maharaj.
Prabhupada. Be an assistant, be an instrument of his program. So his program is many things. Distributing literature and distributing the holy name and distributing prasadam and worshipping deities, etc. Engaging in activities of Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, in homes and in the temple and online and all the different ways that people do it. Online's going to get a whole lot more workout with this coronavirus thing. Okay? Okay, so we'll end there. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Oh, I was asked to comment something. Am I supposed to comment this? There's going to be a kirtan at 7 o'clock, and the kirtan at 7 o'clock is a prayer, because it's National Prayer Day, right? So that this is our prayer to Krishna. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a prayer. And the Sankirtan is the congregational prayer to the Supreme Lord for the upliftment of the world. The whole, not just human society, but all living entities shall be benefited by, that's the dedication, by this prayer, the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna mantra prayer. So that's the intention behind any sankalpa. Some of you are from India and you know the word sankalpa. The sankalpa connected with a particular sacrifice or yajna is important. What's your intention when you're engaging in a yajna? So our sankalpa for this upcoming 7 o'clock Sankirtan performance or participation is a prayer for the upliftment, not just protection against coronavirus, but the upliftment of society from the very tendencies that bring such calamities upon them. Okay? We have some time for announcements, I think, before the kirtan.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for wonderful class on the National Day of Prayer. We also would like to request all those who are in attendance here as well as who are listening online, please stay safe and please take all the precautions as Maharaj was saying, but at the same time chant Hare Krishna. Also, we will be, the remaining next 2 Sunday programs also will be suspended until we kind of get more clarity from our health officials in terms of when we can resume our gatherings back. The temple will be open, but we would like to request devotees not to come in groups as much as possible so that we can reduce the exposure of the possibility of the virus. So we'll maintain the regular timings for this temple, and on Sundays we would like to refrain devotees from coming to the temple as much as possible, and they can always listen online, the classes from morning Srimad Bhagavatam classes, as well as the darshan is available online. Today we are not serving Sunday feast prasadam because of the health concerns. So if anybody would like to take prasadam, Govindas is open, and we are offering those who are present here we are offering a 30% discount. So you can just mention at the Govindas, and so you can have nice prasadam at Govindas. And again, as Maharaj mentioned, in honor of the National Day of Prayer, we will be dedicating our 7 p.m. Kirtan as a prayer to the Lordships for the benefit of the humanity. And His Grace Rati Prabhu will be leading the Kirtan. Hare Krishna. Oh yeah. Again, as precautionary measure, if you are sick or if any member of your family is sick, we would like to request you to not to come to the temple at least for 2 weeks after the last person in your family got well. So just as a directive from the health department, so health officials, so please keep that in mind, and also please advise your friends and relatives or whoever your acquaintances to stay away so we can all be safe. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जना शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चातदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरिर्नाम हरिर्नाम हरिर्नामैव केवलम् कलो नास्तेव 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 गतिरन्यथा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna